I became the associate director, overseeing basically the recruitment team at Florida State College at Jacksonville in July. The college is actually kind of redefining what recruitment looks like at the state college system in terms of what it looks like in Jacksonville. So that's been sort of my mission here, is to help facilitate that change. If you go on fscj.edu, we post our survey results. And there was some feedback on there where students were saying they felt like it was cumbersome to get enrolled. They felt like they had to go around in circles to go through that process. And some of their feedback had to do a lot with that onboarding experience. And so that was kind of the last piece that really said, okay, we have to make some changes. So you go from a very hands-off, the applications online, turn in your paperwork, meet the deadlines, get into school. If you want to be here, get here, type of strategy, to one that says, what can we do to facilitate that process and make sure that individuals are, one, making educated decisions upon their entry. It's not the 13th grade, per se, and so there is more of a need for, when you decide you want to come to Florida State College of Jacksonville, or you decide that you're interested in college, to be thinking about the end goal and having that conversation with someone up front, not when you're trying to apply for graduation, or when you have exceeded your credit limits for completing, or when you're in danger of excess credit hours and all these different consequences that exist in higher ed. The strategies we're doing now is, if someone completes an application, those recruiters that you met outside, they are following up with that individual within 24 hours of the application. Every single applicant gets a call. Whether they answer that call, whether they return that call is, a matter of individual choice. But the institution, we've taken the step to say, we're going to try to reach out to you. We're going to let you know that thank you for your application, but you still have residency, assessment, different steps that prevent you from being able to enroll. And we're going to really tell you what those steps are, not just have it on the website in 9 different places, but we're going to tell you what those steps are, tell you how they impact your path. If you're doing a program that isn't like open access, like a lot of programs are at FSCJ, we're going to tell you about those steps. And really just try to give you some guidance and point you in the right direction, and hopefully remove some of that sense of what the students told us in the survey. It's where probably the best part of recruitment is. It's the art of it, where I could be an order taker, right? I could say, I received your order for an Associate of Arts and degree, or I received your order for whatever you put on that piece of paper. But I have no idea what informed that decision. And it can be as simple as asking a simple question of like, hey, thanks for, deciding on FSCJ. What made you choose that program? And if I hear something really solid and like, oh, I've been interested in nursing for however long, and my mom's a nurse, and you get this like good juicy detail of someone who's been thoughtful and maybe had a decision-making process, well then great. You just congratulate that person on their decision and taking the first step, and you line out what they need to do. Now, if I ask that same question, well, what made you interested in nursing? I saw a bunch of jobs on Indeed, and everyone says you should do nursing. That's an opportunity to kind of go a little bit deeper. Well, tell me, did you enjoy math and science classes, and have you done any volunteer work around the medical field, or what experience do you have around it? Sometimes it's not volunteer work, sometimes it's I was sick and somebody took care of me and it really moved me. But there has to be a motivation there, and you got to be a little nosy and ask for it, and if I've heard people say they want to go into the medical field and they have no interest in touching people or dealing with blood, or they're completely disgusted by the idea of what the medical field is, but they're motivated by job opportunity and having what they believe is going to be a steady career. Well, you have a steady career if you're a good nurse. If you have a bad disposition and you don't like touching people, that's not the path for you, and better for us to have that conversation up front, and then you kind of find out like, well, I think the healthcare field is growing. I think it'd be a good steady job. In Jacksonville, there's so many hospitals and doctor's offices. That's an opportunity to say, hey, you're on the right track. You're taking a good environmental scan. How about other fields in the medical field, like administration or operations? Have you ever thought about that? Huh. And now we've got kind of an opening so that this person isn't, 60 credits down the road towards something they actually don't plan to do. There's kind of a whole student services conglomerate where we all have to own a piece of that. And what you're kind of talking about is both retention and guidance. And so onboarding really has a big part of that. Can we get you going on the right track when you start out? So they get a call at 24 hours here, and we tell them what they need to do and how it's going to help them. We try to register them for orientation. We go so far as to register them for their assessment date if they need one. And then we also follow up 14 to 21 days later. The things that we in recruitment, at least here at this college, are really driving home are the things that they should do prior to going to orientation. Because at orientation here, the goal of orientation is to get them registered for their first class and to develop an academic degree plan. So not only do they walk away from orientation with, oh, this is my schedule for my first term, but after this term, these are the classes I should schedule for next term and the term after that, and kind of have a map so that they're not just, taking underwater basket weaving and whatever class starts after 10 a.m. So those kind of decisions that you can kind of fall into making.
So I am the director of admissions. We have a couple different programs here, but I specifically am the director of undergraduate admissions here at Flagler. Well, being a small school, it's kind of what we do in our office. There's not a lot of, obviously we have set standards for admission and, a pretty standard track that students have to follow to get admitted to Flagler. But we're a super small office, so we work with our students really on an individual basis. They all know us by our first name. They have our direct office phone numbers, and in many instances our cell phone numbers. So a lot of our admission practices are very catered to many different types of students. It's tough to figure out what motivates a 17 and 18-year-old to go to college and what college they're going to pick. I would say St. Augustine is a big factor. I don't know if you guys have spent any time downtown, but St. Augustine it's a really neat place. There's not a lot of places where you can go to school and be on the beach. We're competitive with the in-state public schools as far as our price point is concerned, and we're definitely a bargain for out-of-state students. And I would say the last reason is probably the programs that we offer. We don't offer, 200 or 300 different majors here. We offer, we're less than 40 different programs. And so if you come here, typically I'd like to major in one of these three things. And that's, one of the reasons that we do lose students, from freshman to sophomore year is they've decided, okay, I do want to go to med school, or I want to be a dentist, or I'm, looking at nutrition and dietetics, and they know that we don't offer it here, so they transfer. For us, the essay is a big component of our application. Our essay is mandatory for everyone. And the essay specifically asks students to talk about their plans for the future, kind of it's why are you interested in studying at Flagler, and why you're interested in studying this particular program at Flagler. What do you hope to do with this degree from Flagler? In there, we can weed out students who may have an incorrect understanding of our psychology program or our coastal environmental science program, or a program that they think might lead them to a specific career path or specific, graduate school or professional school. I would say most of our major changes happen between the first and second semester of the students here, and between freshman and sophomore year. I think a lot of students, we have a gen ed program that requires students to take programs, and they have to take classes in every single major that we offer, essentially. And students will, something will catch their attention, or they'll, decide this is, I've, now fallen in love with this, or, I wasn't really sure about majoring in business, now I really want to do accounting. Like, sometimes they'll get a little bit more specific with their plans, as time goes on, but students will change. They change their mind all the time. Yeah. All the time. Yeah. Mostly everything is handled through admissions, but every office on campus plays a role in the recruitment process. The Office of the First Year Experience is a big office that helps us a lot. If students have questions specifically about, a certain degree program, or, what is it going to look like for me, 4 years? Can you plan out a 4-year plan for me? That kind of thing. So they work with us a lot. We do a lot of campus-wide events that require every single office on campus to participate. So, I would never say it's just my office that brings in the students. It's a campus-wide effort.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What I find is that students are willing to adjust what they're looking for in a school. What they're really kind of looking for is to get that kind of personal connection. And the more personal connections that they make, and I think that's kind of evident when they come to tour the campus, is they're actually meeting people here, they're connecting here, and that shows that conversion rate, that when they start really connecting in a real way, they're more likely to come to your school. I think students have really been excited about the opportunities, and it's exciting as an admissions officer to let them know, hey, we're automatically looking at you for merit scholarships, and they're very competitive.
Because that is one of the biggest questions we get. Obviously, being a private university, cost comes into it with a lot of parents, a lot of students, and so when we say you're actually automatically eligible for these scholarships, it puts it back on them. They're like, I really need to keep it together. I need to work on it because that helps me out that much more. Really, it's a wake-up call at that point. We don't have a set in stone minimum GPA. However, we still look, obviously, too low is too low. But we like to take the more holistic approach, extracurriculars, where you're from, what your major is, things like that, volunteer experience. And that plays into it more. Of course, the age-old stereotype of a fine arts major having a lower GPA because they're not as interested in core classes. We do take that into consideration, so it's definitely one of those things that we have to take a more well-rounded approach and view at every application. But because we do have a smaller volume as opposed to Florida State, I don't have 100 applications coming across my desk a day. I might have 6. So I have the time, I have the luxury of time to go through and look at it that way. Personal approach from start to finish, essentially. So every single person, if we can't do something right away, we have the ability to just like poke our head out of our desk and say like, hey, can I ask you a question? And people really respond to that very, very well. They leave with a sense of being comfortable, especially with family. I had a family from Philadelphia. Mother was very nervous about sending her son 800 miles away. She made that very well known. But by the time they left that day, they said, with everyone that we've met, the shooting coach, you, the other staff in here, met with our director of admissions. She was like, I'm okay. Yeah. So it is just one of those things at that point where it falls on the staff to take us from third or fourth choice to real contention. One of the cool parts about us is because we are a liberal arts college, we do have that core curriculum that they know they're going to have to take humanities, philosophy, fine arts credit, the math, science, or lab science, math, history, political science. They just have to declare a major at the end of their sophomore year. Yeah. So they had 2 years to really explore and find themselves and take electives and figure it out, and then they can say, I really enjoyed that class. This professor really made it for me. So
I was determined I was going to train Shannon and be a marine biologist since I was 8 years old. Came here to get your marine science, and I was like, okay, this might not be real. Switched to education. It wasn't a big deal at all, and graduated at the end of the 5-year program with both degrees.
One of the things that we've talked about in the admissions office is hosting an event for undeclared majors and kind of inviting deans and things from different colleges to help present and represent their programs and maybe draw some of that interest, or kind of break it down into breakout sessions where they can get a little bit closer individualized attention and talk about these programs and hope that they find a home. So we also have some tests at our Career Resource Center, aptitude tests, personality tests, things that will help place them into a career field that they're kind of predispositioned to. And so they have those resources as well. But we definitely want them to plug into their general education and try to narrow down a major, hopefully within their first year, if not year and a half.
And they do the second week of school every year. They do Major Madness, which is where they will bring faculty from each program or the deans from it during lunch. We'll have tables set up so that students where they might not know, they're able to go up and ask some questions. But as she said, we're trying to create more opportunities for that.